Hello and welcome to another tutorial with Mr. Arsenault. Today we're going to look at 3D design, and I'm going to do the tutorials based on the lessons I've done in class. So hopefully you guys can pause the video and keep up with me. Okay, so here's our program 3D design. First thing we're going to do is start a new project. It actually has 10 different slides on helpful hints if you ever want to sort through them and learn how to do some additional tidbits. Okay, so we're going to start a new project. Just going to enlarge this a little bit. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down a primitive. A primitive is just a solid, just so I can show you some basic tools. So we've got a box, so a cube, sphere, cylinder, and a cone. I'll just stop right there so I can show you guys some other stuff. But the other primitives are a torus, a wedge, prism, pyramid, and hemisphere. These are actually just two-dimensional objects, so polygons. Okay, the first thing we need to know is how to navigate. So now that we have a few items on our plane, we need to navigate them. So first thing we need to do is pan. The pan tool is right over here. And just so you know, the right-hand column is just for viewing. So click on the pan, and I can scroll left, scroll right, up and down. The next one is the orbit tool. By selecting it, you can orbit around your plane. Also, as a shortcut, you can click on this little cube in the top right hand corner and drag out and in, and that'll also rotate it. If you want the front view, you just click on the front, top view, click on the arrow above the front. If you want a dual view, click on the segment that matches the top and front, or whichever two sides you're looking for. Same thing with the corners, you can get 3 different planes that way as well. Okay, if I select this drop down, I can go into orthographic mode, so that's another perspective, another viewpoint. And if I click on the front, it shows me the exact height and exact XY coordinates, not the Z coordinate. But that's the main difference, is you don't see the Z coordinate. So here I have a cube and a cylinder, but I can't tell which is which because they're both of equal size. And here I just have a slight overlap. So my preference is to go with the perspective because you can always see more there, and the depth actually helps with 3D modeling. Okay, the last one is the zoom tool. You click on the zoom tool, you can click and drag down to zoom in or drag up to zoom out. On a PC mouse, these 3 items are accomplished by using the left click, right click, and scroll. There's also a scroll click, but the pan also does with that as well. Okay, next we have the materials. Each one of these items is a prism covered with material. If I were to take off the material, you would see just the outline of the object itself. And there we go. The cube has a total of 12 segments, the cylinder 2, the cone, technically it has 2, but really it's just the one with a single plane. And the circle has 1, but really it's a sphere, so technically it doesn't have any. I can turn my view back on by going materials and outlines, and you can see the segments go right back into place. Or you could just view the materials only, and then you don't see the segments, but it still is fairly visible. Why do I talk about materials? Well, what you could do is, as you're compositing your 3D image, you could always change the image or the look of something. So right now I don't have any segments on. I'm going to put my material and outline back on. I'm going to select a cube, just highlight, let go. By having the green selection over it, you can tell that it's selected. Now this button up here in the top right hand corner is the materials button. By selecting it, I can either change the color, or if I'd like to, I could change the actual material that would be used for it. So I could go gold, apply overlay, and now my box is gold. I'll just change this to something a little funkier. But you have to make sure it's selected, otherwise you'll be clicking and you won't have anything happen, and you'll be very frustrated. And we'll just leave the last one as the generic blue. Okay, so I've got a few items on the screen. The next thing I want to show you guys is how to combine and subtract something. Well, firstly, to move something into position so I can add and subtract, we have this first button right here. It's the most important button. It is the transform tool. Very similarly to Flash or other Adobe products. By selecting it, we have all of our rotation and our move. We have this guy, which is the Z. We have this guy, which is the X or the Y, and this guy's the X. Depends on how you look at it. Now by selecting one, you can then change the dimensions. Selecting the other, if I move this guy, say 10, decimal, enter, he moves 10 millimeters over. If I were to say Command T to move, that's my shortcut, go up, select the up, I can type in 15, and then he's in the air. Now if I want him to go over to the circle, I could go back to my rotate, or my move tool, drag him over. Yeah, that looks pretty aligned. Check the view. I'm not quite on there entirely, so I will move him just a bit more over top, just like so. And just so I can show you guys a few more tools, what I'll do is I will rotate the cube. So select my cube, go back up here, transform, and if you look very carefully, you see rings around the move tools, the move arrows. We have the X, we have the Y, and we have a Z, depending on how you look at things. Okay, so if I take this guy and I rotate that away, and I take this guy and I rotate this away, oh, I just deselected, which means he's stuck in place. So Command T to rotate one more time. I'm just going to move him onto a corner. And let's go up a little bit. Okay, sure, we'll say that's good. To combine or to subtract, this is the same tool. We go into the combine menu. Oh, I'll just scroll in a little bit more. Okay, and with the combine tool, we have merge as an option, subtract, or intersect. Now I'll show you what each one of them does. So the merge will make both of the objects appear as one, and then when I highlight an object, both of them will be together. Subtract will essentially leave whatever I choose to leave as what's remaining, like the difference. And the intersect only keeps the overlapping parts, much like its description. So I'll use subtract, and I get two different options, the target mesh and the source solid, or the source mesh. I look at this like doing a math equation. What's on top, subtract what's on bottom. Okay, so I click my target. What's on top, I'm going to select this guy. What's on the bottom is going to be my cube. So I'm taking the top of the cube away, so I'll have a hole inside of my sphere. And by pressing enter, I make myself a nice hole. I'll just look at it from the top so you guys have an idea. And that is a perfect cube hole from what we just subtracted. Okay, to merge is very similar. Just going to find a different view. Say I want to take this guy and merge him into there and have the tip of that cone come popping right out. Oh, that's actually pretty accurate. Okay, I like that. I'll have to trim off the rest, but let's try this. So I'll go to my combine tool, select merge, and same thing, do an addition. My first solid with my second solid, and then enter. And now, because I've combined the two, it changed color because it's all from the same mesh. Now when I select and I move, they move as one. I'm going to throw a few more objects out here just so that you guys can see a few more bits and pieces. Let's go wedge. Sure, why not? Okay, if I wanted to do the intersect, I will take this guy. Yeah, sure, why not? Command T for my move tool, bring him up, move him over, move him back. Okay, now you can see my sphere kind of disappears like that. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And that's not going to be exactly, but it'll be pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to do, oh, that's upside down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my view. I'm going to say intersect this guy and this guy. Enter. Oh, every time I click on one, it doesn't take. So intersect. There we go. Source this guy. Source this guy. Now enter. There we go. So now if I was to scroll, I would have the end that got chopped off and top of the circle. Good. Okay. If we want to make multiple selections, what I could do is hold the Shift key. So say I took this guy, this cylinder over here, Command T, and I rotated him on his side. I'll just type in 90 degrees, make it nice and easy, and I moved him back here. If I was doing a subtraction, I would say, okay, I want to take the cylinder out. I'll say my targets will be this guy, hold down the Shift key, and select this guy. Now they're selected together. I can release the Shift key, and my source will be the bottom, which is this guy. Press Enter. I missed something, so I'll undo that. I'll go subtract this guy, Shift this guy, source this guy. Okay, so I know what I have to do. In order to subtract two things from the one, I first have to merge these two together. So I'll double highlight them, go into my combine, and select merge. This guy, target this guy, enter. Don't know if that worked or not. This guy with this guy, enter. Okay, well, we'll try it. We'll see if that worked out. Okay, I'll go to subtract. No, I can tell right away it didn't work because these guys are supposed to be together. Shift this guy, source this one, and enter. Okay, so what I'd have to do is I have to do it in two different steps. Fair enough, fair enough. But I bet if they were touching, and then I merge them, merge this guy with this guy, enter. Now, you see how there's a green line around both pieces, much like we had on this one? This will work. But it's a little large, so what I'm going to do is, under my transform, I can also scale it. You'll notice that the shortcut for scale is S. And I'll just drag it back out a little bit so I can see the front of it. Make sure I'm taking quite a bit off. Okay, so I'll go subtract this solid minus this solid, enter, and then I have a nice big hole. If you want to be sure of what you subtracted, you can always turn off the skin, and now you have the outlines only. So you can see that I have semicircle there from what's remaining. And that is adding and subtracting. Go back to my materials and outline. Is there anything we missed? Intersect. Okay. Intersect is very straightforward. It will only keep what is intersecting. So if I take another primitive, we'll say a hemisphere. And I flipped it upside down, Command T, this guy, and I would like to rotate it. Sometimes I need a different angle because I need to see the axis I'm playing with. Let's go 180. Oh, look at that. I made it. Exactly. Okay. Command T again. I'm going to move it over here. Move it right through as close as I can. Okay. Deselect. Intersect. So I'm only going to keep what is intersecting. So it doesn't really matter what order it is because all that really matters is what is intersecting. Then you press return on the Mac, enter on the PC, And there we have it. You have your circle bottom, and then you have somewhat of a cone, misshapen flower thingy as your top. Okay, so hopefully you guys learned a little bit on the intro. That's some basic tools, and stay tuned for more on 1, 2, 3D design.